Today, my D. Good stress, bad stress. Thank you, my teacher. When you look at this, the body is going to adapt. And we know that most of the diseases don't exist. So when you're looking at high blood pressure, high cholesterol, poor digestion, blood sugar, immune system, brain fog, memory issues, tissue production, which is all the arthritides, hormone problems, cortisol, thyroid, everything, none of those are problems. They're all the body adapting correctly to stress. Now, you might say, well, how do we just eliminate stress and just only have regeneration? You can't. You would die. We need a balance of these systems. So without stress, you do die. But how do you identify it? So if somebody's been diagnosed with, say, a herniated disc, and the doctor would do a test on it and an MRI, and they'd see that the disc is bulging, but they don't ask why, what caused it. Okay, so birth could be a trauma. If you're looking at natural birth, fantastic. Birth at home, parents around, family around, husbands around, great. Trauma, this could be falling down, but it could have been years earlier. You could have gone down a slide backwards, okay, when your mom told you to go down frontwards, okay? So you have to assess the entire structure. Why? Because this nervous system that's encased in bone, solid bone case up here that's flexible, and this is flexible, but if you've had any kind of trauma, okay, and this isn't addressed, then the body starts to break down. And so you have to assess the whole body. Now, sports are fantastically good for building bones. That's why we have the vibration plate over here to build bones. Everything, any kind of sports or movement. That's why I encourage everybody to move their body. Now, it's interesting. I'm giving you a letter that I wrote to a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy, regarding one of my patients. And so I went through and explained the neurology behind joint issues. So if somebody has a joint problem, where it comes, and then how to distract the hip, how to get the curve back in the neck, how to get the knee to work correctly, how this all interchanges on how the brain works, how to sit correctly. This is actually Dr. George from one of my other clinics. He's a great guy. I really love my team. And then these are references, because doctors are not using references. Like, what's the leading cause of high blood pressure? It's unknown. What's the leading cause of cholesterol going up? It's unknown. What's the leading cause of anxiety, stress, and depression? It's unknown. What's the number one cause of Parkinson's? Unknown. Sitting. You're sitting, increasing the pressure on the L5-S1 disc 5 times normal. Okay? Because the spine is supposed to be curved. When you flatten this out and you sit on it, it opens up the holes so you don't feel like you're doing damage. So what do we give? That picture, 20 minutes in, 10 minutes out. So we turn sitting into therapy. And movement. You need movement for the brain and every joint every day. Okay, how many's mom or grandma said, you only brush the teeth you want to keep? Or was it just my grandma? You only move the joints you want to keep. And this is every joint, every day. So when people say, well, I'm getting adjusted, can I still work out? No, you have to. That's why we got vibration plates. I tell you to go moving. We move the legs all the time because the adjustments are to change the brain function. Sedentary lifestyle is one of the most toxic things that you can do, okay, is not move. And this is why when we have paraplegics or quadriplegics, people with severe damage to the brain and body, I have their loved ones move their legs, move their feet, move their arms. Because this, even if they're not physically, consciously moving that joint, their brain is getting some stimulus. Okay, so at any stage you can do it. But also good physical stress of breathing. chemical stress. Now, what's interesting, physical, chemical, and emotional have the same effect on the body. So if you have physical stress, blood pressure, cholesterol, digestion, immune system, everything changes. If you have chemical stress, same thing. Emotional stress, same thing. So there is no difference to your body based on this type of stress. You're still going to be in a stress state. So now here, poor sleep, number one chemical stressor. Sleep is when the body regenerates. So what's the first thing I ask anyone that has cancer? Well, you already know this. If I have somebody here that has cancer, do they sleep good or bad? You're never going to have someone that says, yeah, man, I got cancer all over my body and I slept great. No. But take another disease. Somebody with Parkinson's or arthritis, did they sleep good or poor? Because sleep is how the body regenerates. You get anybody that's eating food that they can't process. And that's what we're going to talk about Friday, the 5 keys to health. You have to assimilate and break down those nutrients. You've got to get the amino acids from the proteins, fatty acids from the fats, and usable sugars from the carbohydrates. Processed foods means that it's going to sit on the shelf for weeks, months, or years. That means they've removed the metabolic and digestive enzyme. And if bacteria can't break it down, neither can you. And if they're using toxic oils, this damages the arteries. This is why every patient I got that works at a fast food restaurant, they had kidney and liver disease, 100%, because their blood is poisonous. That's why we check blood on everybody. So people are taking a blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, pain reliever, and they'll take handfuls of them. Vaccines, when they first came out with them, they were questioned. In 1960, they wouldn't give me any because I was born. But by 5 years old, they gave me 3. So anytime you do a medication, that medication has gone through a double-blind controlled trial. Vaccines have never done that. So I'm not a fan of either of these, unless you're at extreme risk and that vaccine has been tested against a placebo. Okay, environmental, parts per million. Okay, now the blue masks, if you're standing a floor or you're around massive amounts of dust, those masks will help. Okay, but you can't wear it for more than 20 minutes because it builds up with sweat. Electromagnetic fields or radiation. This is the key. You cannot wear the Apple Watch when you go to sleep. You have to turn the Wi-Fi off in your house. 4G is bad. 5G can kill birds. And this is everywhere. They're coming out with 6G. Now, I'm using a pulsed electromagnetic field to get negative force loads into the cells so the body can transfer fluids. And we see positive changes on the blood and positive changes in tissue production. So if you're low in minerals, you're going to notice it more. This is why some people can say, I can sense you have a cell phone, okay? And you can take the battery out, they can't see it or feel it. So some people are more sensitive to this, some people aren't. So chemical stressors are huge. Then emotional, and this is a copy of a letter I gave to a physical therapist regarding a patient. Emotional stress. Now, what's interesting, anxiety, stress, depression, bipolar disorder, these are all features of the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is programmed by the cerebellum, the little brain in the back. That cerebellum gets all its input from the position and motion of the vertebrae. So when you have normal position and motion, you get normal stimulus to that brain. If you have abnormal position and motion, you have abnormal stimulation to the brain. And then you have the gut where neurotransmitters are produced. And we can see if you have a leaky gut or a healthy gut. So when we see a leaky gut, that is anxiety, stress, depression. The problem is that some of these kids that we get have a horrible leaky gut and they have nothing to compare to. Are you happy or sad, buddy? Okay, they don't know because they've been like this their whole life. So when we talk about Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, those are all brain issues, similar to a stroke. We have to heal the gut to get the brain to work. Then we have to change the configuration of this back to normal so the body can regenerate and get that stimulus up to the brain. Does that make sense? So the brain is programmable, but past events and present events and future events. So your brain thinks 90,000 thoughts a day. 95% of those thoughts are the same you had the day before. And our brains all go in loops. So very few people live in the present. When you're listening to me, you're either thinking about a response, comparing it to past information, or thinking about the future, what you're going to be telling your doctor or your friends, and what friends you can tell this information to and what friends you can't. Give me an amen if you got friends like that. Yeah, I know, I got family like that. So it's not the event, it's your response to it. So people have been hit by a car, blown up, missing limbs, every horrible thing that you could imagine, but it's based on their response. Okay, you could be born poor, black, blind in the South of America, in prejudiced South, where they were hanging people, okay, and become one of the most famous music people on the planet. Ray Charles, one of my favorite. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what happened, it's your response to it. And then active controls. Your brain, you can control it through symmetrical movement. This is why anybody that has adjustments, I get them over there and I have them do cross-crawl exercises. And sometimes you'll see it's hard for them to swing their legs. Why? Because both halves of the brain aren't firing. Why is that? Because if you've had long-term, this is normal, this is not, if you've had long-term problems with that communication of the body to the brain changes its shape. It changes its structure. This is why the pineal gland is really big and the hippocampus is really big in people that meditate and pray. And it's very small in people that have anxiety and stress. So you can change the structure of that brain. So, I've been upset my whole life. Yeah, because your brain is firing along that. So we can change how the brain is firing by changing your perception of the environment. And then you can reprogram any past event and gut function. Does that make sense? And so the biggest thing is we need these stressors. You could not survive without gravity. You need to go walking. I'm putting you under vibration, which gives a huge amount of stress. Okay? Why? Why would I do that? Because I want your body healthy and strong. You need to move your joints every day. Why? Because the joints get healthy. You need to sleep good every day. You need to get the right nutrients so your body can break it down and utilize it. Does that make sense? Okay, any questions about all this stuff? Okay, and encourage you to give this letter to any physical therapist that you're working with that doesn't understand it, because we're going to go over shoulder issues, we're going to go over knee, foot, and hip issues, we're going to go over a lot of things in order to reform that body and get the joints healthy. Any questions? Was that clear? So we know what D and mighty, bad. Okay, D, good. Kapun krap. Thank you very much.